What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is March 15th of 2021. Well, folks, I hope you all are having a fantastic day wherever you are, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin's price action, not only the break above $60,000, a big even level of accomplishment for Bitcoin, but outside of that as well, talking about what we need to see for price in order to continue climbing higher, and where we could still expect some point of resistance. And outside of this as well, spend a little bit of time to talk about the altcoin market and how we might be having a slightly delayed second half to the altcoin cycle that we're currently going through. So we've got lots of things to discuss right after our quick sponsor. And our sponsor for today's episode is TaxBit. The 2020 tax season is here. Calculating taxes on cryptocurrency is complex and time consuming, but TaxBit has made it easy by automating the entire process. Link your exchanges and wallets to seamlessly pull your transactions through their tax engine and auto-generate your tax forms. Aside from automating taxes, TaxBit provides crypto enthusiasts real-time portfolio tracking and tax optimization visibility so that you can make tax optimization crypto trades throughout the year. If you're looking to stay IRS compliant, have real-time portfolio visibility, and save money on cryptocurrency taxes, then TaxBit is the platform for you. Check out the link down below in the description for more information. Alrighty, everyone, so let's go ahead and dive straight into taking a look at the market. I did want to share, though, towards the end of the video, we're going to be announcing 3 winners for the TaxBit giveaway. So if you filled out the form, stay tuned for that. You won't want to miss it, just in case if you won. Now, taking a look over the last 24 hours here, we can see that the vast majority of cryptocurrencies are in red territory. This is following a pretty significant correction in both Bitcoin and Ethereum, a typical pullback. At the same time, though, we've got a few altcoins that are really shining through. We've got a few random players like Hollow and Harmony, but really some of the more clear, consistent players like Engine Coin or Decentraland that fit into the category of gaming and blockchain or NFTs. And again, we're going to hit on this as we talk a little bit more about our altcoin discussion, as this really seems to be the new narrative, the new thing that people are focusing on. And I have a feeling, as we've talked about again here on the channel, that the NFT craze is going to continue for some time. Now, I want to go ahead and dive straight in, though, to this conversation about Bitcoin. Bitcoin breaking above the big even level of 60K, up towards $61,000. Setting a new all-time highs and continuing to chart towards a much higher valuation. Now that we've broken above the $1 trillion figure, it's going to be the roadmap to $2 trillion. Can Bitcoin get to $2 trillion in market capitalization? Let's go ahead first and talk a little bit about what might be causing this. What's causing the current surge, and then diving into the TA side of things. What do we need to see in price in order to continue higher? And outside of that as well, what points could we be possibly expecting resistance? These are the 3 critical questions we have to ask. Well, to start here for Bitcoin, the major reason we're seeing price appreciation like this, I think, as of now, is that we are entering into the retail phase here, where retail is getting much more excited about cryptocurrencies, so everyday traders. But outside of that as well, outside of the buy-side pressure on the spot market, you've also got a lack of liquidity that is able to be bought, in this case, on the actual spot exchanges, because there's just, again, this continuous buy-side pressure from corporate treasurers. Now, this is definitely not anything near the Tesla news that we saw in the sense of changing the supply and demand dynamics of Bitcoin, but we are still seeing MicroStrategy make very common multi-million-dollar purchases. We're seeing this new company, and I have no doubt I'm mispronouncing it. It's a Chinese technology company named Meitu, buying $22 million of Ether and $17.9 million of Bitcoin for its treasury. So there's a lot of major players out there that are starting to make these types of styled purchases for cryptocurrencies. And they're setting up substantial positions for their treasury in order to hedge against currency devaluation or utilize them as an investment asset to grow. Now, again, this is a really interesting narrative here, but I want to go ahead and, putting narratives aside, we can obviously see that the market is still experiencing more buy-side pressure than sell-side pressure. And I want to go ahead and just dive straight into analyzing price here. So, again, putting TA aside here for price, as we've again gone through this repetitive pattern, as we talked about, we bought Bitcoin again at an additional position around 46K at the bottom here. We've been riding up that wave here. The question remains, what do we need to see here first in order to continue towards higher levels before we even know where we're going? Well, the first thing I would say is that we want to see price hold roughly where it is right now. And the reason why is because we have an opportunity here, after breaking through the previous all-time high set back in February 21st of 2020. We've had the opportunity to break out above there, and as we're pulling back, we want to be able to make that level new support. This is very common in the world of technical analysis. Again, I have no doubt, guys, you're going to see a lot of people who overanalyze things. They tell you to look at about 1,000 different indicators. What the market and most professional traders are watching is price action. They are naked trading. And I know that sounds like a funny term, but seriously, guys, again, I can't emphasize it enough. Naked trading is so much more effective in this case because the closer and closer we got to this previous point of resistance, this is where support came in. And along with that as well, this base here that we set before the secondary part of the cycle, much like over here in the previous cycle, we had the first part of the rally, pullback, making a new base, continuing the parabolic rally, correction afterwards, building base at that halfway point. Then we have again the continuation to break past the previous all-time highs. Catalyst here, we have a new base, as you can see here after a major pop-up above the previous all-time highs. And in the secondary part of the cycle, where do we come down to find supporters? Right here. So what we're seeing this time around is a little bit different, whereas both times in this case, previously in the past, where we popped up and we never really tested back down to make that support. In this case, we're likely going to be coming down and making support here around $58,000. That would be the best case for the bulls here. If we break down below something like 56K, I got to tell you guys, I think that could very well be a sign that we're ready for a pretty significant correction. But again, I don't think we're there just yet, because I think what we're about to see is the test up towards the third talking point, and that is, where are we going? When can we expect some significant resistance and possibly a market cool down of Bitcoin's valuation, where altcoins can get that increased liquidity and start out the second phase of their cycle, much like we've seen historically? Well, if we take a look at the BLX indicator here, there's two things I want to point out. First off, on an actual price standard here, we're getting very, very close to the logarithmic growth curve, in this case, of resistance. So I'll go ahead and take it here to the weekly so you guys can see it more clearly. Taking in the last three tops here, we're getting very, very close. Now, do I think that this is the absolute peak for the market? No, I think that this line is going to be broken within this cycle, and it's going to be a bit of a new paradigm for crypto. But at the same time, I think that this is going to place some significant hold down on Bitcoin's price in the short term. And I think that that's good news for altcoins, but it's also generally short-term bad news for the overall market post-May. I think that's when liquidity generally just exits the market as people start to lock in profits. But afterwards, again, we will start to see some follow-through afterwards, and we could see a break above this line long-term, or given the extra time, a much higher price level on those logarithmic growth curves. Now, one thing that kind of is a bit kind of substantiated to my point here, at least kind of builds on my point, is the fact that we've been seeing since the beginning of the year in January, as altcoins have started to take over in the market, that Bitcoin's volume here has actually been on the decline. Now, I'm not looking at one specific exchange. What I'm actually looking at is BLX. It's the Brave New Coin Liquid Bitcoin Index. And the important thing to keep in mind is that this is measuring the actual liquidity and volume of the major real exchanges with real volume. I'm talking the Bitstamps of the world, Coinbases, Kraken, anything you can think of, Bitflyer, a lot of these major players here, and the real liquidity that's actually in the market trading, not the kind of high-end volume that some exchanges are reporting, right? So again, we're seeing, broadly speaking, that liquidity is not as high as it's, again, been over the past few months, in the sense that Bitcoin traded. Dollar amounts, for sure, record highs. But again, the amount of Bitcoin traded is actually what really matters at the end of the day. As we see declining buy-side pressure on spot volume in this case, again, it's showcasing here in price, right? We had the major amount of price gains here. And I'll show us just a good example here. From here to here, we really had the growth of volume. We had a 328% move. And from that point on, as volume has declined, we really only moved up about 40% in Bitcoin's price. Nearly 1/10 of what we had back here. So again, this is a great way where you can start to spot that volume here has been decaying on Bitcoin, and the overt excitement has been fading here. Whereas the closer and closer we get to these big even levels like 70K, which is steadfast and approaching, I think that that's where we're going to see some resistance, especially with the historic significance of those logarithmic growth curves. No matter if you or I think that Bitcoin is worth more, right? It doesn't matter. Overall, people are going to be watching for this level. The people who bought Bitcoin as a treasury asset, people who are trading, whales, whoever it might be, right? It's a significant level to watch. We cannot ignore it. We can't let our over optimism get in the way of that. And it would make sense the way that altcoin dominance is working itself right now is it's been pushing sideways since back here in late January. It looks like we might have the chance here as liquidity exits out of Bitcoin to circulate into altcoins, and then we see a decline in altcoin dominance back to the mean, or possibly somewhere here in the middle, the first half and before the second half of the altcoin cycle, and then setting up a higher base from back here in December, setting up for the secondary altcoin cycle and having an absolutely parabolic rally. That would be something that I'm expecting for in the long run. But again, above all, everyone, the major takeaway here is that altcoins are the focus point. There is a lot of narratives going on now, whether it's NFTs, whether it's DeFi, enterprise blockchain, oracles. There's a lot of plays that are going to probably generally outpace Bitcoin for this time period. Long term, it's usually best to bet on Bitcoin. I'll be fair in saying that because there is a lot of noise in the altcoin space, right? And a lot of the great fundamental developments get watered down by all the other plays in the space that are a bunch of noise. So we have to understand that. As someone who loves a lot of altcoins and projects out there, you really have to focus in this case on when it's good to be in altcoins, which in my opinion is right now. It's just my take. And after May, it's going to be very pertinent to either be in Bitcoin or possibly consider a temporary stablecoin position, right? If we do get something to like what we saw, and I'll go ahead and pull up on the chart here, something similar to what we had back here in June of 2019, where we have a long period of stagnation. If we get anything like this, and I'll go ahead and just get the bar pattern tool here. Right? If we have anything like this, where price action goes sideways for a very long period of time, right? I'll try to just kind of draw it here and kind of normalize it a bit, right? If we have something like this before we break above that logarithmic growth curve, where we actually do have the expanding cycles come into play, where the cycle is lengthening and we have this very long period of time where Bitcoin really has to defend its value after this rally. You know, I mean, that's something where, again, we might have a correction where it might make sense to go to stable coins. It might make sense to at least just remain in Bitcoin as a reserve asset or take our focus elsewhere, right? It's a matter of whether or not those corporate treasurers continue acquiring. And I got to be honest, the way that I've been seeing this market react, I used to have much more of this viewpoint about a longer term correction. I don't see it. I really have a difficult time seeing that this is going to happen the way that buyers have been coming into the market. But again, we're talking about needing much larger buy orders. So this isn't just the small $15, $20 million buy orders from MicroStrategy or the $20, $30 million from Mitsu in this case, companies that are coming in and buying like treasury reserves and they're small and medium size. We need large scale enterprise, large scale companies in the tech sector to be building these kind of positions for Bitcoin to get to these values overnight in that sense. If people are really expecting in 2021, we're going to set a peak at 100K, 200K. It only gets there if you have those major buyers or some other form of liquidity that's equivalent. So anyways, guys, I'm curious to hear from you guys. Do you think that we're going up to 60K? Do you think that will be the point of resistance, or do you think that we're just going to blow through it? You think that my suspicions might be wrong and we're just going to absolutely blow through and continue higher towards 100K? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. If you like this video, please consider dropping a like. It's always appreciated, guys. But that being said, thank you all so much for watching. And the last thing that we're going to do here, as promised, is we're going to take a look here at the TaxBit winners. So to go ahead and announce the winners, we've got 3 packages we're giving away through TaxBit, the Basic, Pro, and Plus package. So I'm going to go ahead and announce it here today. James is getting the Basic plan, Edwin is going to be getting the Pro plan, and Jordan is going to be getting the Plus plan. So I know there's possibly a chance that, one or two you might have the same first name, but you'll basically be receiving an email if you're one of those winners. And you guys, for those of you who didn't win in this case, don't let it get you down. Not only can you use the link down below for discount to tax, but over 10% in this case for signing up on any of the plans. But outside of that as well, again, I highly recommend all of you in this case to continue participating. I love doing these giveaways. There's going to be many more in the future, so look forward to it in the next few videos. So guys, thank you all so much for watching and giving me the time of day to listen and talk about cryptocurrency markets. That being said, everyone, I hope you're all having a fantastic one, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.